Good evening and welcome to Daily News Simplified. My name is Abhishek, and in today's edition, dated 25th of April 2024, we are going to take the following issues with respect to your civil services examination. For the articles of the day, we will be taking the first article that is based on the Israel-Iran conflict and where does India stand in all this. The next article is inspired by a report that is given in the Hindu newspaper that is with respect to the National Clean Air Program, its success, its limitations, and what needs to be done ahead. With respect to your prelims examination, as the prelims is nearing, we have increased the number of topics for your prelims examination. So we will be taking 6 MCQs which are closely aligned with the syllabus of your prelims examination. So without further ado, let us begin our session. So the first article that we are going to take is an article with respect to Iran-Israel relationship. The context of this article is that it is perhaps for the first time that Iran and Israel have involved in overt warfare with respect to each other. The article is written by a former ambassador who is having a profound knowledge with respect to the Central Asian region and knows the deep cleavages with respect to the various countries, right? So let us see the context. The context is that various historical, regional and geopolitical factors are responsible for Jewish-Persian conflict, which can impact India's Act West policy. So this is the context. How do we locate it in the civil services examination? For your GS paper 2 in international relations, with respect to India and its national interest in the region and beyond is a part of syllabus. And in the past, in 2027 and 2022, direct questions have been asked with respect to India's Middle East policy. In 2017, the question was with respect to energy policy and cooperation with West Asian countries. And in 2022, the question was on the recently formulated I2U2 grouping. So now in this context, let us understand the backdrop of Iran-Israel conflict. So we have in the past, we have studied about the difficulties in the relationship between the Arab world and Israel, and also we have discussed multiple times the issues with respect to Israel and Palestine, the conflict we have read and heard about. But it is very rare that any person has dwelt in the article in such a detail with respect to Iran and Israel relationship. So let us see what are the historical, regional and geopolitical factors with respect to the relationship, how it started on a good note, and later on it is one of the most complicated relationships between the two nations as of now. So the author traces the relationship back to the 586 BC. Prior to that, the Jewish people were considered as the people of the book, so to say. The book here refers to the holy book of Muslims, and it was considered that even the Jewish people, because they are also a part of Abrahamic religion and faith, they were considered as the part of the book. But it was perhaps in 586 BC that King Nebuchadnezzar was the first king who attacked the kingdom of Israel, right? He was a king, he was a Persian king, obviously. He destroyed the first Jewish temple, and it is said that the conflict between the Persians and the Jews began at that point of time. Moving back, fast forward, in the Pahlavi region, so Pahlavi was one of the military dictators who ruled Iran, and because he was considered as a person who was appointed by the United States on the behalf of United States, he had a pro-American nature. He had a pro-American gesture, and because even Israel is considered as a pro-American regime, and Iran at that point of time of Reza Pahlavi was considered as a part of pro-American regime. So there was a temporary truce or good part in the relationship between Israel and Iran. Then all of a sudden, Iranian revolution happened in 1979. The power was taken from the dictatorship of the Reza Pahlavi, and the power went into the hands of Ayatollah Khomeini. So because this revolution was backed by Islamic fundamentalism. So there was one fundamental difference that was seen, that the stance that was pro-Israel and the Pahlavirin was uh, all of a sudden shifted towards anti-Israeli sentiments, right? So at that point of time, they created an axis of resistance. What is the meaning of this term, axis of resistance? This means a grouping which could involve Israel, sorry, not Israel, Iran, Syria, right, Lebanon, and maybe some other non-state actors like Hezbollah, right, and other maybe for example Houthis. So this is how an axis of resistance with the sole purpose of so to say crushing the existence of Israel, because they considered Israel as the smaller Satan, was formed. In 2002, the United Nations group saw undeclared Iranian nuclear activities. So at that point of time, Iran already had technology with respect to the development of bomb, but because they were signatories to non-proliferation treaty, they did not go towards creation of an atomic bomb. Now, creation of atomic bomb is of significance here, because atomic bomb creates a sense of powerful stature in the region, and especially with respect to the Arab world, because in the Arab world nobody possesses a nuclear weapon except for the ambiguous situation of Israel, right? So in 2002, Iranian nuclear activities were detected, and it was seen that Iran is all about to create a nuclear weapon. And in response to this, there were covert operations that were carried out by Israel. They started killing various scientists with respect to Iranian nuclear program. And in 2010, there was a Stuxnet attack. This was a virus attack on the Bushehr nuclear facility, in which Iranian nuclear weapon is being developed. Moving on to 2012, fast forward, Netanyahu alerted the United Nations General Assembly that Iran is just on the brink of making a nuclear program. This is a very historic picture in the United Nations General Assembly that was taken with respect to Benjamin Netanyahu. So we see that there have been constant conflicts with respect to Iran and Israel relationships, but till now the operations were carried out in a covert manner, right? So for example, killing of various scientists, killing of in response, they used to carry out covert operations with respect to the non-state actors, Iran, right? Then they used to kill the generals, Iranian generals who were responsible for the operations. So covert operations were basically carried out. But this is the first time that in 2024, Israel attacked Iranian embassy building in Damascus. So Damascus is the city in Syria. So obviously you must be remembering Syria with respect to this axis of resistance. So Syria is proactively supporting the outthrowing of kingdom of state of Israel. Then Iran retaliated with missile and drone strikes. So this was the first time in the history that Iran retaliated in a manner that was very overt or offensive in nature. And then in response to it, Israel retaliated back with the attacks on the particular airbase from which the attacks were launched. So thus we see that the relationship, which was already bad, has moved towards overt operations. Now, is there a possibility of this relationship going into the full-fledged war? So strategic thinkers are speculating that there might be a possibility that this could get into a larger conflict involving the powers of Middle East. So let us understand what are the motives behind the hostilities that are carried out by Iran, right? So the first point with respect to this is that Iran, which Again, Iran tries to claim to be one of the major powers of the Muslim world. So again, you see that there is a tussle or a turf war going on between the Middle Eastern countries with respect to who is going to be the hegemon of the uh, Middle East, right? Or for example, who is going to be the hegemon of uh, central Muslim world, right? So before the First World War, Turkey used to be the undeclared hegemon of the Islamic world. Now, after the finding of oil and creation of dependence, finding of oil, Saudi Arabia by default became the hegemon of the Islamic world. Now it is understood that there is a rivalry because Iran again is not a young or new power. It is a civilizational state. So Iran again, it has its ambitions that are commensurate with its stature of a civilizational state. It is technologically very advanced. It is educationally very advanced. It has got all the resources in terms of oil, natural resources in terms of uranium, so on and forth. So they think that they also deserve to be a leader of the Muslim world, right? So they want to appeal to the Muslim world that yes, if we can take covert operations, you can also take, sorry, overt operations. Overt means direct offensives. So if Iran can take overt operations with respect to Syria, Israel, so other powers should also come and join us in taking overt operations with respect to Israel. Then we already discussed the leadership ambitions with respect to the Islamic world. After Turkey, the baton was shifted in the hands of Saudi Arabia, and then there is a constant rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran with respect to the hegemon of the Islamic world. So Iran also wishes to be a hegemon of the Islamic world. Then moderate Arab regime seeking political solutions to the crisis. As per Iran, there cannot be any political solution to the crisis. Iran accuses the other Arab world, most importantly the Sunni world, that you are trying for the impossible, right? You are trying for that there can be a political solution to the Palestinian crisis. But what Iran says is that even if Israel is not permanently obliterated from the face of this earth, there can be no other political solution to this crisis, right? Then next is with respect to Abraham Accord. So you must have read in the past couple of years there is a accord that was signed between the between USA, Israel and the other powers of the Middle East. So there are speculations in the minds of various strategic thinkers that to derail the implementation of this Abraham Accord, this attack on Israel was carried out. Not this attack, the original attack by Hamas. That particular attack was carried out on the behest of Iran on Israel, so as to derail the process of implementation of Abraham Accord. Then lastly, but not very a very significant issue is with respect to development of this nuclear bomb. The ambition of a military bomb, ambition of a nuclear bomb are very much ripe in the minds of Iranians. So till the development of an Iranian a nuclear weapon, they want to carry out attrition warfare. What is attrition warfare? Attrition warfare is a kind of warfare that is carried out with the enemy, in which you try to wear out the enemy by the small and piecemeal attacks. So till the time Iran cannot build a full-fledged nuclear weapon, right, they will carry out attrition warfare. So that is why they are carrying out wars and proxy wars with respect to non-state actors, so on and forth. Now this is the backdrop of this crisis. What are the motivations of Iran? We have already discussed. We also understood the timeline of hostility between Iran and Israel. Now moving on, what are going to be the impacts of this particular war on India? this is going to be of most importance when it comes to the UPSC examination. So first impact is going to be with respect to the domestic impact. So after Iran and Pakistan, India is having the third largest Shia population in the world. So obviously when this crisis gets further deepened, India's domestic politics can have negative repercussions. Then again, we are having first is with respect to the Shia population and the domestic politics, and then second one is with respect to the diaspora. We are having a diaspora, of a strong diaspora of workers, blue collar employees in the Middle East, that is very strong, that is close to 8 to 9 million individuals. So if this crisis further deepens, we will have a responsibility of first evacuating them from there and then providing a sustainable job to them in Indian economy, right? So these are going to be the domestic challenges if the war happens. Then the second aspect is with respect to the sea lines of communications, or in general the communication network, right? So what can happen if the crisis deepens? The first impact could be the disruption in the oil supply. The second can be that trade route through Red Sea will be disrupted. And the third is with respect to specific reference to Iran. If the war goes on, then we have a Chabahar port that is located in Iran. And by the way, this was one of the questions in your preliminary examination as well, that what is the significance of Chabahar port? That we will get access to not just Central Asia but also to Middle East. So this is one of our ambitions, that we get access, all weather access to Afghanistan, and from Afghanistan to Central Asia and to the westward side as well. So if a full-fledged war happens, then this might also be compromised. Then impact on Act West policy of India, because India is highly dependent on Middle East for oil. Nearly close to 40% of oil passes through Middle East countries, right? 40% of the demands are met by Middle East countries. So an unstable Middle East is very detrimental to the energy security of India. And then next point is with respect to the breeding ground of terrorism, right? So obviously, for example, this very radical ideologies, they might not directly impact India, but then again, these ideologies, for example, even ISIS was also there, and India had seen an uptick in the recruitment to Islamic State as well. So again, it becomes a kind of headache for the security agencies, that they if these radical ideologies take over, individuals start joining, get inspired, and there are chances of home attacks also, and then going and joining to the radical ideological camps as well. Then the next aspect is with respect to it could impact our remittances, which is close to 40 billion US dollar annually. We get remittances from the Middle East, so that could also get impacted. And then the last impact is with respect to our multilateral architecture. Obviously, there was a PYQ on the I2U2 corridor. There can be a question in the mains, that how could this emerging Middle East crisis uh, impact our ambitions in the Middle East towards Europe in terms of IMAC corridor? What can be the impact of this war on IMAC? So these are the possible impacts of war that could happen on India. So it is in India's interest that any kind of escalations do not take place, and this particular crisis is resolved on the table itself, right? So moving on to the next summary for the day, the context of this summary is that the implementation of NCAP is National Clean Air Program, has been found to be inconsistent, and cities are not using allocated funds that are designated for NCAP, and it has raised various questions in the mind of environmentalists. So before moving ahead, let me give you a fact that close to 10,400 crores rupees 10,400 crore is the annual budget, budget of this national clean air program, with the sole purpose of having a clean air, that is part of your fundamental rights under article 21. But the implementation of this particular program has been found to be inconsistent. We will see the details in the further slides. Now, what is the syllabus mapping with respect to this? The syllabus mapping is with respect to your GS paper 3, that is conservation, environmental pollution, degradation and environmental impact assessment. And in the past, there has been a direct question on air quality guidelines and India's national clean air program as well. So moving on, let us see about the details of national clean air program. So it was in 2019 that Ministry of Environment and Climate Change launched the National Clean Air Program. The goal of this program was to improve the air quality in 131 cities in India. And the objective was to cut the particulate matter in the atmosphere, which is to be up to 20 to 30% by 2024, and by 2026 up to 40%. But the implementation at the ground level has been very tardy, and subsequently we have not seen any kind of improvement in the air of these particular cities, that is 131 cities. And out of this 131 cities, there was a plan to implement an annual clean air action plan. Out of these 131 countries, cities, the cities which were not able to get their specs correct with respect to the improvement of air quality, they were to be admitted in clean air program, and they were supposed to implement the scheme. Now, what are the reasons for the poor performance of this national clean air program? Let us understand one by one. So first aspect is with respect to low uptake of fund. Now, what is the fund? We have already discussed that it is a corpus of close to 10,400 crore, but as seen on the ground, there is only 60% uptake of the funds. And in practicality, we have seen that in many of the cities, the uptake is even lesser than this. It is close to only 30% of the funds have been utilized. And the newspaper cites the case study of Vizag and Bengaluru, in which almost zero funds have been utilized. The next aspect is with respect to delays in the approval with respect to the purchasing of equipments. See, you already understand the bureaucratic process, and when bureaucratic process get mixed with the scientific aspects or technical aspects, the approval making process again becomes further complicated. So bureaucracy along with the technical specifics make the process further complicated for the procurement of various instruments with respect to cleaning of the air, and this leads to delays in the approval. Then the next point is also similar to this. There is a inordinate delay in the tendering process with respect to technology. Again, the problem is with respect to that the civil servants are not equipped enough. They do not have, they are the general, civil services is a generalist service, right? So generalist service does not have the adequate knowledge and expertise when it comes to the technicalities. So the problem is with respect to technology as well, that technology constantly keeps on changing and emerging. And then the problem is with respect to the generalist civil services as well, that they are not competent enough to deal with the technical aspects of tendering process and scientific aspects. So this also further creates inordinate delays. Then the next aspect is with respect to lack of standard operating procedures and implementation procedures. This National Clean Air Program had a meta target of, let us say, 2024 or 26, but they did not provide smaller targets, time bound targets, that yes, by the end of this particular year or month or so on and forth, this particular targets could be met. Again, the problem is also with respect to the quantification process as well, because environmental pollution constantly keeps on happening. Unless though you curb the sources, this process of cleaning the air is only can only be akin to firefighting approach, because you are not curbing the root cause. You are just curbing the, see for example, this machine, this sprayer machine, it can only dampen the PM 2.5 and 2 and 10, but what is the root cause of this PM 2.5 and 10? That cannot be dealt with this particular machine. Then there are issues with respect to poor data management, right? For example, in India, this particular ministry should have data with respect to what are the various industries, what are the various point sources of air pollution, what again in which season which particular kind of particulate matter rises, right? For example, there is a substantial rise in the particulate matter when stubble burning happens, so they are not having particular data with respect to that, right? So because of poor data management, again there is a lack of performance of this particular program. Then there are issues with respect to bureaucratic delays, all the kind of delays. There could be technical delays, as well as because of change in technology as well, they become very skeptic of the old technology. Then another issue that the report has cited is with respect to there are doubts about the efficacy of the present methods that have been deployed. For example, if you are a sincere reader, you must have read a couple of months back, not even months, a couple of weeks back, that there was a news that the efficacy of smog towers which were installed in Delhi, the High Court had recently questioned the efficacy of those smog towers. So at the point of initiation, when they were launched by the present government, there was a very much positivity and optimism that yes, we can control the air pollution with respect to smog towers. But later on, when this technology was tested on the field, it met the dust, it bit the dust, right? So efficacy of the current technology, because we are not no technology as of now is tried and tested with respect to curbing air pollution. So we are also in this phase that we have to constantly test the technology, improve the technology, again retest the technology. So this is called as a curve in the development of various technologies, right? So we are on this particular curve in which we are testing, learning, and then re-implementing. So there are again questions with respect to efficacy of various methods. Now let us understand what can be the way forward. How can we move ahead with respect to improving the efficacy of this National Clean Air Program? Obviously, we have not met any targets which we are supposed to meet by 2024. It is a policy failure, right? Then again, there can be certain recommendations. The first being that we need to create an emission inventory, and air quality monitoring studies need to be carried out by various institutions, various engineering institutions, research labs, so on and forth. They will provide insight into the local pollution sources and their contributions. Again, we need to go into the micro details of the topics. What are the various point sources of production of air pollutants? See, we do not have, there is, if there is a lack of quantifiable data, and then when it is coupled with poor data management, we are bound to fail in those particular programs. So this needs to be fixed. Again, there is a demographic shift and technological advancement which are continuously happening in the country. So we need to trace all the demographic shifts and the technological advancements which are being carried out, and again the pollution which is coming out of these two factors needs to be factored in while making policy. Then the third aspect is with respect to regulation of transboundary pollution issues. For example, the prime example is with respect to stubble burning, with respect to air pollution caused by industries. For example, a industry might be located in Haryana, right? And it might be polluting the air in Delhi, but Delhi government has got no power to shut down that particular industry, even though the pollution must be happening in Delhi. So this kind of there needs to be a mechanism to regulate this kind of issues with respect to um, governance, right? Then there needs to be a conduct of source apportionment studies. As of now, only 37% of the cities have completed the EI and source apportionment studies. You will wonder at the lethargy of the governance processes right now, that 63% of the cities don't even have a clear idea about what is polluting their air. For example, if you go and ask, so let us say let me take an example of a city in UP. uh, they will not be having even the faintest of idea that what is the cause, what is the pinpointed causes of air pollution in that particular cities, right? So this needs to be fixed. The civil servants need to be made accountable as well as competent in their particular fields. Next is with respect to development of a decision support system that is and critical infrastructure for measuring the air quality. And as of now, this particular decision support system is only available in major cities like Delhi, Pune, Mumbai and Ahmedabad, and rest of the cities are not even having this decision support system. So in all these issues need to be corrected so as to implement the national clean air program in detail. Now after this particular thing, let us quickly move on to the prelims aspect of the paper. So we will be dealing with 6 MCQs today. We will be dealing with them very quickly, and let us move on with the first topic. First one is the doctrine of repugnancy. What is the source of this news? The news appeared on page number 4 of the Hindu paper, and the news was with respect to Tamil Nadu law on eviction from Waqf property has been deemed to be unconstitutional by the High Court of Madras. Now, what is the context? The Madras High Court has declared a 2010 amendment which brought Waqf properties under the ambit of Tamil Nadu Public Premises Eviction of Unauthorized Occupants Act as unconstitutional. So basically, going into the details is not that much essential, but let me just put it for your perusal that there was a particular law that was made by the Tamil Nadu Assembly. The legislature has got the power to legislate. So obviously, legislature of Tamil Nadu enacted a particular law with respect to the management of Waqf for public properties. So the name of the law was Tamil Nadu Public Premise Eviction and Unauthorized Occupants Act, right? Let us call it Law A. Okay. In this particular law, there was an amendment made, and Waqf Board Chief of Tamil Nadu was made the head of recovery of property in on which unauthorized occupants had captured, right? Now let us take into consideration a law B which was already made by the central government. The name of the law is Waqf Act of 1955. And this particular law, that is central law, already designates that the tribunal made under section 83 of this particular Waqf Act is the competent authority to deal with this thing. Now, do you see the contradiction between law A and law B? Law A designates some other officer for this a particular task, that is eviction, and law number B, that is central law, dictates that a tribunal is the competent authority to deal with the eviction from the Waqf property. So in this context, Supreme Court said that the law made by the Tamil Nadu, that is Tamil Nadu Public Premise Eviction of Unauthorized Occupants Act 1976, is repugnant and should be called as unconstitutional. And Supreme Court held that whatever is done with respect to eviction can only be done with respect to the Central Waqf Act of 1955. So now in this context, let us understand what is the doctrine of repugnancy. Okay. Repugnant in general terms means that something that is inconsistent or incompatible with each other. Now I'll constantly keep on referring law A and law B. Law B was made by central government and law A was made by the state government, right? So as to give you a better clarity. Then when two pieces of legislations have a conflict between them, again we see that they came in conflict. As per law A, some other person was made a competent authority for eviction, and as per law B, some other person was made a competent authority with respect to eviction. And when they are applied to the same fact as in the eviction from the private from the property of Waqf board, right? But they produce different outcomes. That who is going to be the competent authority? There occurs a kind of repugnancy. Why is this doctrine important? Because implementation of law needs clarity. For example, you are fined, let us say 100 rupees. So you should know to which authority you have to submit the fine. Let us say you were driving and you broke a kind of red light. Now a challan comes to you. What if this particular challan, you don't know to which authority you have to pay challan? At one point of time, let us say one person says that you have to pay challan to the Delhi police, and some other person says that no, this particular challan has to be paid to some other police. So what will you do? You will be perplexed. So in this context, there needs to be a clarity with respect to implementation of laws, that only one law has to be followed. And now you must also be aware about the 7th schedule of the Constitution. The 7th schedule has divided the various aspects between central list, state list, and concurrent list. So on these topics, on these issues, only central government can make laws. On these issues, only state governments can make law. However, on concurrent list, both center and state governments can make law. However, if there are two laws which have been framed on one aspect, for example, in this particular case, this aspect was management of Waqf property, right, or eviction from the Waqf property. So what is going to be the course of action? Central government law will prevail over the state government law. Why? Because state government law is found out to be repugnant to the central government law. In India, Article 254 of the Indian Constitution deals with the doctrine of repugnancy in India. However, prior to Constitution, the Government of India Act 1935 also had a provision with respect to doctrine of repugnancy. This particular doctrine was first applied in the Australian Constitution, but you don't need to go into the details with respect to the application of this doctrine in the Australian Constitution. This particular doctrine, moving on, it deals with the difference of opinions in terms of law which arises between the center and states. We already understood this fact that if there is a difference of opinion with respect to the central made laws and the state made laws, this doctrine will be applicable, and as per this doctrine the central law will prevail. Now let us understand what are the various conditions of repugnancy. So there are three landmark cases that have been presented to you in as per KM Karunanidhi case. The Supreme Court highlighted, the constitutional bench of Supreme Court highlighted that for a repugnancy to occur there needs to be a clear and direct inconsistency between the central and the state act. Basically these are the tests that were laid down for the formulation of doctrine of repugnancy. Then the inconsistency should be absolutely irreconcilable. If you can reconcile the repugnancy, that if you can find out a middle ground, say let us say central government and state government can find out a middle ground, so in that particular case this repugnancy will not happen. The next aspect is that inconsistency is of such nature as to bring the two acts into direct collision. Here also this particular repugnancy was bringing two acts in the direct collision. Why? Because as per the Tamil Nadu Act, the Waqf Board chief was made the chief executive officer for the eviction from Waqf land. However, as per the central law, the 1955 Act, this act has given power to the tribunal for the adjudication of Waqf property which has been taken over by the illegals, right? So there was a direct collision. Who is going to be the authority? Then next, in the government of Andhra Pradesh versus JB Education Society, the Supreme Court mellowed down its stand and said that the judiciary must interpret legislations made by parliament and state legislature in such a way that the question of conflict does not arise and can be circumvented. So judiciary should not be proactive to find out repugnancies every now and then. They have to try to first reconcile the laws, right? First there should be an approach to reconcile the law and find out a middle ground. And in only in the cases of direct chances of direct collision between two laws, doctrine of repugnancy has to be applied, and one law has to be given primacy over the other law, and the other law has to be deemed to be unconstitutional. And it further said that if such a conflict cannot be reconciled, then the parliamentary law shall prevail. So here in this case also, the Madras High Court said that what will prevail? The Waqf Board will prevail, right? Let us read the reasoning what was given by the court. That the court said that the amendments were repugnant to the Waqf Act of 1955. Why? Because of the appointment of CEO, right? Then the encroachers on the Waqf property could only be evicted by the Waqf tribunals set up under the section 83 of Waqf Act of 1955. Okay. Next, let us try to solve one MCQ. Let us first see, has there been any PYQ on this matter, right? So the PYQ was based on the doctrine of basic structure, and it appeared in 2020. Based on the similar lines, let us try to read and solve the MCQ. Which of the following best describes the doctrine of repugnancy under the Indian Constitution? A. It denotes the principle of judicial review where courts can strike down any law deemed inconsistent with the basic structure. No, this gives an impression that this particular definition is with respect to the doctrine of basic structure. Okay, it refers to the conflict between state and federal laws, okay, where the state law is rendered void to the extent of repugnancy. Let us see if this can be the answer. C. It refers to the harmonious interpretation of conflicting laws at both state and federal level. No, it does not entail that both the laws should be interpreted harmoniously, right? D. It is a doctrine that allows for the retrospective application of laws to the previous cases. No, again, this is not the meaning that we just read. So the most appropriate answer as per our understanding of doctrine of repugnancy is that if there is an inconsistency between a central law or a federal law and a state made law, the law, and there is a direct conflict between the laws, the law made by the state government will be void to the extent of repugnancy. The entire law might not be made void, but to the extent of repugnancy, that particular law will be made, particular section would be made void. So most appropriate answer over here is B. With this, moving on to the second topic, this news appeared, this small snippet news appeared on page number 14 of today's The Hindu, in which Supreme Court has said that we are staying the construction of 4 dams in Kalesar Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, so obviously the context is this, and in the past UPSC has asked various questions based on the location of wildlife sanctuaries and various mountains, rivers, flora and fauna found on in the various wildlife sanctuaries, right? So based on the similar theme, we have framed a question for you. Let us first see the key facts about the Kalesar Wildlife Sanctuary. So it is located in Yamunanagar district of Haryana and named after Kalesar forest, right? And Kalesar Mahadev temple that is located in the wildlife sanctuary. It also has a historical Kalesar fort, which it is said that it was made at the time of Aurangzeb, right? And this particular national park is located near Yamuna river. See, Yamuna river again forms a natural boundary between Uttarakhand, which lies towards its east, and here towards the west lies Haryana, right? And Yamuna river lies eastward to the park, and there are other nearby parks. Obviously, see, this basically this Kalesar National Park is an extension of Rajaji National Park, right? It would be wrong to say that it is an extension, but it lies very near to Rajaji National Park, right? So Rajaji National Park lies to the northeast, Timbalwada National Park towards the towards the east, and Morni Hills lie to its west. Here, Morni Hills. So now in total, if you see the map, how many national parks can you see in Haryana? We will have a quick survey and find out that there are only 2 national parks in Haryana. First one being Kalesar, and the second one is Sultanpur. How many wildlife sanctuaries can you identify in this map? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. 8 wildlife sanctuaries can be identified in Haryana, right? So based on the information that we have just gathered, let us see a previous year question. Which of the following are the most likely places to find musk deer in a natural habitat? The answer was 1 and 2 only. First being Ascot and second being Gangotri National Park. So obviously when UPSC asks you question with respect to national park, and whenever you read any national parks of importance, you have to see for certain things, right? For example, if there is a certain particular flora or fauna that is endemic to that particular national park, or for example, what is the location of that national park? Is there a geographical identity to particular to that national park which gives the national park some particular uniqueness? is there a river which passes through the national park? So these are the things that we need to see when we study the national parks. Now, based on our understanding, let us try to solve. With reference to Kalesar Wildlife Sanctuary, consider the following statements. First, it is situated in the northwestern part of Haryana. We have to see the locational setting, and um, if you are very clinical in your approach, if you have a right eye, you will find that, is it located in the northeast region? Yes, it is located in the northeastern region, so not northwestern region. Okay, so statement 1 is incorrect. A Mauryan fort is located within the wildlife sanctuary. No, we just read that Mauryan fort was not located. A fort which was likely made during the reign of Aurangzeb has been found over there. So this is again incorrect statement. River Ghaggar flows through the national park and is the source of water. So is this statement correct? You please tell me in the comment section, which river did you just read that it flows through this particular national park. So your common sense must dictate that the name of the district also is Yamuna Nagar. So obviously Yamuna river must be flowing from that particular national park, and from this information we must also deduce that those dams must also be the proposal for these dams must also be on the river Yamuna. How many of the statements are correct? None. Okay, so this is the answer. Next, moving on to again one of the polity topics, that is with respect to Article 244A, the constitutional promise of autonomy for the Assam tribal areas. This article appeared on page number 14 of Indian Express of today. What is the context? That in Assam's tribal majority Difu Lok Sabha constituency, all the candidates, irrespective of the parties, have promised that when they will come to power, they will push for the implementation of Article 244A of the Constitution to create an autonomous state within a state. So this Article 244A, you kindly open your Bare Acts or you go to internet and see what are the exact wordings of this particular article. So let us see the key pointers with respect to Article 244A. It was not found in the original Constitution of India, but was inserted by the 22nd Constitutional Amendment. It provides for the creation of autonomous state within the state of Assam. This is the state of Assam, and this is the particular region, right, for which Article 244A mentions that there can be a provision for autonomous state encompassing the regions of Karbi Anglong, Difu, so on and forth, for the creation of an autonomous state within the state as per Article 244A. Now, what are the major provisions that are found under Article 244A? The autonomous state would be created through a parliamentary law. This can be done simply by implementing a parliamentary law. So Parliament by law can make a state within the state of Assam for those particular regions, and there need not to be a constitutional amendment for making that particular state. And then it further provides the detail that the state can have a legislative body which can be elected or nominated or partially elected or partially nominated. Further, it can have council of ministers or both legislative body and council of ministers. So based on our understanding, let us try to solve this MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding Article 244A. It has been inserted by the 22nd constitutional amendment. Yes, this appears to be correct. It provides for the creation of autonomous state through a parliament made law. Yes, we just read that there needs not to be a constitutional amendment for this particular case, and parliament by law can make this particular state viable. And the autonomous state areas within Assam also come under the ambit of 6th schedule. Yes, these areas already come under the ambit of 6th schedule, but still these people are demanding a statehood within the state of Assam, right? So did you think while reading the news that uh, when there are still already provisions with respect to 6th schedule which provide them autonomy and decentralization, why is there a need of creation of a separate state as a whole? So the reason lies that 6th schedule areas, they provide two things: decentralization and autonomy, right? So these are the two aspects. However, the 6th schedule does not provide one crucial aspect, that is the power of administering law and order. So this is one of the most crucial powers of the executive, that power to enforce law and order. So with the creation of this state and achievement of statehood, there will be a power to administer law and order. So this is what these people are aspiring for, that they get the power to regulate themselves, and not just in terms of decentralization and autonomy in the matters of development, but they also need power with respect to law and order. So that is why there is a long standing demand. Again, it is a emotive demand. Most likely candidates will promise it before elections, but after getting into power, they'll most likely again leave this demand altogether, right? So this is with respect to this article. Moving on to the fourth article of prelims for the day, that is with respect to gift city. So now the context of news is that the role of International Finance Security Center, that is IFSC, at Gujarat International Finance Tech City is vital in overcoming trade finance challenges. Right. So the article says only this, but let us understand how this gift city is going to transform the trade financial challenges that the country is facing. Right. So how? By providing conducive environment for the financial services and technology. There will be dedicated centers for providing technical support, financial services, so on and forth, right? Then providing necessary and essential infrastructure uh, for dealing with the finances. Then there is going to be connectivity with respect to financial connectivity with the whole of the world, and then there is going to be enabling environment in the gift tech city with respect to pardon, development of finances and international financial sector in India. Now let us understand what is gift city all about. So this gift city that is being made in Gujarat has two zones. First is a domestic zone and other is a special economic zone. So that in domestic zone there can be a transaction in Indian rupee. It can be undertaken the domestic zone. Transactions in Indian rupee can be undertaken. However, in special economic zone, it is declared as International Financial Service Center, and there needs to be that all the transaction happening in International Financial Service Center happen only in foreign currency. Gift SEZ is going to be India's first international financial service center, which is set up under Special Economic Zones Act of 2005. Again, while going through any current affairs news, you need to focus on a couple of things. One of the thing is that under which act this particular authority has been established. You always try to Google it and see under which particular act this special authority has been established. It comes in handy while solving the MCQs in the civil services preliminary examination. Next, an IFSC is a jurisdiction that provides financial service to non-residents, right? So basically foreigners and residents as well, to the extent that is permissible under the Indian laws. Next, units related to banking, insurance, capital markets, so on and forth are also located in the gift tech city. So based on this understanding, let us try to solve a practice MCQ. In past 2020, there has been a question on foreign direct investment in India, and let us try to solve the practice MCQ with reference to gift city. Consider the following statements. All financial transactions undertaken in the gift city are denominated in foreign currency. So we just read that there are two zones. First zone is domestic zone, in which transactions in Indian rupee can be undertaken, and then there is a second zone with respect to IFSC, in which only transactions only with respect to foreign currency can be undertaken. So statement 1 is incorrect. Then gift SEZ is the only place in India which allows offshore transactions. Yes, statement 2 is correct. So answer is B. Okay. So moving on to the next topic, that is APEDA, Agriculture and Processed Food Products Export Development Authority. So this was in news, and this news has been taken from Business Line, and it is located on page number 10. What is the context of this news? That APEDA is looking for the viability of export of Indian mangoes to various foreign destinations, for example like Russia, for USA, for the first time through sea, right? As of now, all the exports that are done are with respect to the air route, but now they are looking at the feasibility of exporting the mangoes through sea route. Now what is going to be the challenge with respect to sea route? That in air, the export reaches within 24 to 48 hours, not more than that. However, if you export mangoes by sea, there is going to be a challenge with respect to time, right? So they are looking, along with ICR, are exploring sea protocols for exporting mangoes via sea route. So they are undergoing, they are going to see all the various technologies that can be associated with it, and along with it, they are going to conduct feasibility studies that can it be sent via sea without compromising the quality of the export. Okay, so in this context, let us first understand about the authority, and then we will solve the MCQ. So it is the apex export authority with respect to agricultural products in India, as well as the promotion of agricultural exports in India. It provides as a crucial interface between various stakeholders. For example, a stakeholder with respect to agriculture export can be a farmer, storehouse, packers, exporters, okay, and then transporters. And transporters can be it can be a sea transporter, air transporter, so on and forth. So these are all the export stakeholders. So it provides as an interface between various stakeholders. What is the relevant ministry? Again, while reading also these kind of interesting news, you must pay attention, special attention to the various ministries, and more, again, not just ministries, the various departments as well, which deal with the various bodies. Okay, so which is the ministry? Ministry is ironically, you must be assuming that this is going to be the Ministry of Agriculture, obviously, because it is an agricultural export. But the ministry is Ministry of Commerce and Industry. and this act was enacted in 1986. That is APEDA Act. This particular authority, prior to this, there was another authority which was known as Processed Food Export Promotion Council, which this particular authority replaced, and this APEDA authority took over. Okay, so APEDA is mandated with responsibility of export promotion and development of scheduled products, and these scheduled products are with respect to fruits, vegetables, their products, meat products, poultry, so on and forth. The detailed list is long and it has been attached in your PDF, which has been provided to you along with the lecture. So kindly go through the particular PDF, right? The next aspect is important. This authority has been entrusted with responsibility of monitoring of import of sugar. So if we are going to import sugar in the event of any kind of emergency, right, food related emergency obviously, so this is the authority which is going to be having the responsibility of monitoring the import of sugar. So this is a very unique and particular provision, so that is why we brought it to your notice. It also functions as a secretariat for National Accreditation Board and National Program for Organic Production. So these are the key facts that are relevant with respect to this particular body. So let us try to solve this MCQ. In past there was a question on Tea Board of India, so on similar lines there can be a question on APEDA as well. Consider the following with reference to APEDA. Consider the following statements. APEDA is an export promotion body of agriculture products set up under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So which ministry did we just read? Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So it is very easy for a student, especially for a starter, to get confused between various industries, various ministries, right? So you need to keep a tab on these ministries and be very particular about the industries under which ministries these authorities or bodies function. APEDA. Next, APEDA has been entrusted with the responsibility of monitoring the import of sugar. So this is a very unique provision. So that is why we need to keep this in mind, that this statement is correct, that it is a responsible authority for the import of sugar. Okay, so answer is going to be B, that is 2 only. With this we come to the last topic of the day that is important with respect to your preliminary examination. The body which we are going to deal with is Spice Board of India. The news is given on Business Line, page number 10, and the context of the news is that the Spice Board of India has held consultation with the industry on recall. See, there was a news, if you are following the newspaper, that Indian brand masalas like Everest and MDH have been called back by the various countries. For example, Hong Kong and Singapore have called back because they found a presence of ethylene oxide in those masalas. So this body was in news because this particular body, that is a Spice Board of India, held consultations with the industry, that is Indian industry, on recall of those spices and masalas by the government. And honestly, it is very disappointing that we are taking a kind of adversarial stand on this matter. Ideally, what should have happened, there should have been an inquiry, because we Indians are being treated as a guinea pig for their experimentation. And when foreign authorities find out certain chemicals, certain pesticides and carcinogens in those products, so we are also again questioning them, right? Instead of questioning the agencies or the companies which have put the carcinogens and various kind of chemicals in those products. So before going to the Spice Board of India, let us read about the carcinogen that has been found in the Everest masala, which you and everyone around us eat in our food. So what is ethylene dioxide? It is a colorless gas or liquid with faintly sweet odor. So its odor is also relatively sweeter. How does this fumigant finds its place in various masalas? So this ETO is used as a fumigant, right? So when you have to store the raw masalas for a longer period of time, you use the industrialist or the factories use various kind of fumigant to control insects and pests in stored products, right? So while storing, let us take an example of haldi, turmeric, right? So for exporting it, you need to first store and then process it, make it in the powdery form, then pack and export. But the process can take a lot of time, because the season in which haldi harvest or turmeric harvest we will get might be different from the season in which a lot of exports take place, right? Or at least the export take place throughout the year, but the production and harvest comes once a year, right? So for the whole of the year they have to store it, and there is, because a chance of, there is a threat of insects and pests that can be there in that particular spice. So in order to deal with that, they use it as a fumigant, ETO. Okay, but if it is consumed in excessive amount, or if it is exposed to us in excessive amount, it acts as a carcinogen. Carcinogen means a chemical substance which can be responsible for cancer and pose a significant risk with respect to excessive exposure. And then what are the other diseases which can be given with respect to inhalation of this chemical compound? It can cause, in the short term, respiratory irritation, lung injury, and neurological effects. And in the long term, it is carcinogen. That means it causes cancer, particularly lymphoma and leukemia. So the request and suggestion with respect to the central government is that, just like there are frequent events like this. For example, even in Nestle goods, excessive amount of sugar in the baby food has been found. Again, we need to take our health seriously, and especially the government of India also needs to take these regulatory bodies very seriously. And these are the limitations with respect to our regulatory bodies. A couple of weeks back, there was a very beautiful discussion that we undertook in our DNS program with respect to limitation of various kind of regulatory bodies and regulatory regime in India. You can refer to the video, as well as you can refer our monthly magazine as well with respect to this issue, right? Now moving on to the Spice Board of India, let us understand the quick facts. It is a regulatory body for the exporting and for the export and promotion of Indian spices, right? For example, spices like turmeric, spices like red chili powder, coriander, so on and forth. And it was constituted in Spice Board Act of 1986, so quite an old body. It is a flagship organization for development of worldwide promotion of Indian spices. So it not only acts as a developer, providing necessary infrastructure, creating a kind of environment for the production, conducive environment for the production, but it also promotes Indian spices in the whole world. Then it comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Again, it is very kind of it might be kind of confusing for the young viewers, for the new viewers, but this needs to be kept in mind that certain bodies or agencies or regulatory bodies have been put under different ministries. You can logically assume that if it is an agricultural product, it must be under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, but no, it has been kept under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Its chairman is appointed by the central government, which is obviously an IAS officer of the equivalent rank of joint secretary. So again, this information is not that relevant, but just for the sake of reading it. Now, headquarter of this agency, is particular statutory body, is located in Kochi, Kerala, and these are the functions. Functions include checking the quality of export, doing research and development with respect to better production methods, providing guidance and counseling to farmers with respect to what to produce, how to produce, which are the better varieties, so on and forth. Regulation and licensing of export spice exporters as well. Okay, and then lastly, quality improvement program for Indian spices. One another important thing to learn with respect to this organization is that it conducts a program that is known as World Spice Congress. Okay. It organizes a common platform for interaction between Indian exporters and international buyers. And this program is called as World Spice Congress, which is carried out by Spice Board of India. Based on the learnings that we just had, there is again a PYQ on this matter, and let us try to solve this particular MCQ which is in front of us. With reference to the Spice Board of India, consider the following statement. First, it is a regulatory body under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. Right? So, ministerial goof up? No. This comes under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Okay. It is headed by chairman who holds the rank equivalent of Joint Secretary of the Government of India. Yes, this information is correct. It provides license to all spice exporters. Okay, yes. And the Spice Board head office is situated in Delhi. So is this information correct? No, this is incorrect information, as the headquarters is located in Kochi. Did you ever think that why its headquarter must have been located in Kochi and not in some other city? So think it in terms of geography, think it in terms of which state is one of the largest states in terms of production of spices, right? Why did the ships, the British ships, come to Calicut only, right? So try to open your mind, right? Try to connect everything, and then you'll just get the answer. Okay, so I'm leaving this answer for you to comment in the comment box. If you have liked our initiative, if you like this lecture, kindly put a like button, and also tell your friends, tell your juniors to subscribe to this channel and watch the daily videos. With this, the discussion for today comes to an end, and I hope to see you soon next time. Thank you and have a good evening.